Welcome everybody to the 14th chapter. So last class we started the 14th chapter and we will continue the 14th chapter. So this is the second chapter in the Charama Shaktam, the last six chapters, and this is about Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. That is the three gunas of Prakriti. The Prakriti has three gunas: Sattvam, Rajas, and Tamas. And this chapter is entirely about the gunas. So by using the gunas, it distinguishes between Purusha and Prakriti. Anything that has gunas is not Purusha, not the consciousness. That is how it distinguishes. Previously, it was anything that was the object, Purusha and Prakriti, that Drashta and Drishyam. What is seen is an object. What is an object cannot be you, the consciousness. So that is how the distinction is made between Purusha and Prakriti. Now the distinction is made based on gunas. Anything which has qualities is said to have gunas, and that cannot be the Purusha. As usual, we would like to acknowledge Swami Paramarthananda Saraswati for the traditional rendering of Vedanta as it was done for over 1,000 years, starting with Adi Shankaracharya. We'll say a small prayer. Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Partyantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Salutations to the lineage, starting with Lord Sadashiva, with Adi Shankaracharya in the middle, and continuing up to our immediate teacher, Swami Paramarthananda Saraswati. So with that, we will go to where we left off. So we saw the first portion, Introduction to Atma Jnanam and Creation. So that was, we covered up to shloka 4. So it talks about creation. Mama yonir mahad brahma asmin garbham dhadamyaham sambhava sarva bhutanam atho bhavati bharata. So Bhagavan says, great Prakriti is my womb, and in which I place the seed. Thereupon, the origination of all beings take place. So it talks about the father-mother principle. Purusha or Prakriti cannot independently create the universe. Purusha Tattvam is compared to the father principle. Prakriti Tattvam is compared to the mother principle. And whatever forms are produced in all the wombs, know that of Kaunteya, Kunti's son, Arjuna. All of them, Prakriti is the womb. I am the seed-giving father. So Brahman is like the father, and the Prakriti is like the mother. Now we will go to the next portion. This is the main portion of the chapter. It is on the three gunas of Ahankara. The gunas come because of the Ahankara, the ego, the I sense. So there is the original I sense, which is the consciousness. Then there's a false I sense, which is the ego. Okay, ego is called Ahankara. So in this, the first portion is Guna Lakshanam, characteristics of the three gunas, and Bandhana Prakaraha, mode of bondage, or how each guna binds one to Prakriti. Okay, we'll see those two. Continuing. Sattvam Rajastama iti Guna Prakriti Sambhavaha Nibadnanti Mahabaho Dehe Dehinam Avyayam. So here it introduces the three gunas of Prakriti: Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. These gunas, born of Prakriti, bind the changeless self to the body. So Dehe means the body. To what? To Avyayam Dehinam. Dehinam Avyayam, you should read it as Avyayam Dehinam. That is, Avyayam means changeless. So Dehi, the changeless self, the gunas of Prakriti bind the changeless self to the Dehe, the body. Okay, so that is the meaning. Okay. Continue. So gunas and how they bind the Dehi. The Dehi is it is the embodied one. That is the that is the consciousness, that it binds that to the body. Here, this is the classical example that is used in Vedanta. Ahankara is how we differ. So it's important to see what Ahankara is. Ahankara is the mind-body complex plus the borrowed consciousness. Okay, so to illustrate the borrowed consciousness, we've seen that it's Chidabhasa. And to illustrate this, the following example is used in Vedanta, and it's given by Shankaracharya. So you have water in a pot, and there's fire underneath to heat it. The water by itself is neither hot nor cold. It has, it's just water. Heat in the water is an incidental property borrowed from the fire, because by itself, its temperature is not regulated. It's just regulated by the surroundings. So heat of the water is like the borrowed consciousness, the Chidabhasa. Heat of the fire is like the consciousness, the Atma. Water is a physical medium. It's like the body. So the heat of the water is like the borrowed consciousness. Heat of the fire is the original consciousness, the Atma. And the water is like the body. The thermal conductivity of the water, how well it conducts the heat, is a guna, property of the water. Okay, is this understood? So this is how gunas bind the dehi to the body. So the dehi here, dehi can mean different things. Dehi can be the embodied. It can mean the subtle body. Here it refers to the consciousness. So how the gunas, it's because of thermal conductivity of the water, the dehi, which is like the original consciousness, like the heat of the fire, is transferred onto the water because of its property of thermal conductivity. Like that, the ego, because of its property of reflecting, so of anything, the mind which reflects everything, because of that, it shines, it reflects the original consciousnness, and it shines as though it is giving out light. It's like the moon in the night sky. The moon looks bright, but it doesn't have any light of its own. It's reflecting the sunlight. So that is how it is borrowed light. So it's like borrowed consciousness. Ahankara is your lower nature. So the I, there is a small I and the capital I. The capital I is our true nature. That is the conscious, original consciousness. The reflected consciousness is like the what's reflecting of the Ahankara, ego. So Ahankara is the mind-body complex plus the borrowed consciousness. It is the lower nature. It is our individuality. It's important because to function in the world, but that is, one has to realize that is not the higher nature. It's good to transact business in the world, you need to have an identity, right? For that it is good, but when life problems start occurring, we have to own up to a higher consciousness. Sakshi is our higher nature. Then Krishna wants to point out that as long as you're taking yourself as Ahankara only, samsara cannot be avoided. If you think you are this mind-body complex, then you will have rebirth. The moment you know that you are the original consciousness, then rebirth, you get moksha. The I we perceive is not the real consciousness, but it is the reflection of the reflected consciousness. Another example that they give in Vedanta is you have a mirror. So all this talk about how the gunas, because of the property of the conductivity of the water, or a reflection of a mirror, light is reflected and it looks as though this individual unit is shining. So mirror, the more smooth the mirror is, the better it reflects the light, right? So here the face is considered to be the original consciousness. Whenever there's a face and a mirror, there's a reflection. Similarly, whenever there's the original consciousness and the ego, there is the reflected consciousness. So this face is like the original consciousness, mirror is like the ego. Ego catches the reflected consciousness and transmits it to the rest of the mind, and the mind transmits it to the sense organs. The sense organs transmit it to the rest of the body. The reflected consciousness, also the ego is related to the body by karmajam. So the ego, how does the body come? The body comes because of the karma. And it is related to the reflected consciousness by sahajam. So the ego, is reflect. Whenever there is a mirror and there's a face, there's always a reflection. So the ego is related to the reflected consciousness, but naturally, first, whenever you put a mirror and a face, there's a reflection. So it is sahajam and to the original consciousness by bhrantijanyam or error, because the ego has no relation to the original consciousness. Original consciousness is there, like sun is there on its own. Sun, it is in no way related to the ego. So if you say, what's the relationship between the sun and the moon? It's no relationship. Like moon is like the ego which reflects the sunlight. Okay, so I've given 3 examples. One is the water that you see here, the water and the heat. The other one I gave is the face and the mirror, and the other one is the sun and the moon. So there are 3 in all the in here. The gunas is the thermal conductivity of the water. In the case of the mirror, how well the reflection is depends on the smoothness of the mirror, how well it reflects your face. Your face can have blemishes if there are scratches in the mirror. So that is the guna, how good the reflection is. Then in the case of the moon, how the moon surface and how what angle it is at full moon, all that, how it reflects. So that is the guna, how it is positioned. That's the guna. So the gunas, they bind the dehi to the body. So what do you mean by binding the dehi to the body? Dehi here reflects to the original consciousness. It binds means it just reflects it. It seems to catch the light and give it away. So it looks as though it's shining the light, but no, it's capturing and giving it away. Okay, so that's how they call it binding, or it catches and it gives. So far, everything clear? Everybody, Ravi?
Yeah, good, Ganesh.
Because it's a very important concept. So 3 examples we saw. I only put one of them here. Okay, now very interesting word, guna. So if you look at the dictionary, one is property or attribute. But guna also has a different meaning, a string or a rope. So guna is something that shackles one to samsara. Okay, continuing. Tatra sattvam nirmalatva prakashakamanāmayam sukha sanghena bhadnati jnana sanghena chanaga. Of these 3 gunas, sattva, nirmalam means alam is defect. Nirmalam means it's defectless. It is prakashakam, it is luminous, and it is anamayam, without afflictions. Anamayam means without ama or without disease. Ama in Ayurveda, all the plague and everything that deposits due to not getting metabolized properly is called ama. So, or it is like affliction. So it is anamayam, without affliction. And how does it bind? Sukha sangena bhadnati. It binds one by attachment to happiness. Sattva is a happy state, but you get attached to happiness. Sukha sangena bhadnati, jnana sangena chanaga, an attachment to knowledge. When a person is sattvic, person likes to be in a blissful state. They don't want to get into a fight. They want to always learn things. These are the characteristics of a sattvic person. But we'll see, why is it, all those are good, you may ask. Why is it a binding? Why do you say it binds one? Why do you talk of it as though it is a problem? Because You'll soon see. Yeah, a sattvic person, if there's loud music and disturbance, that person will get disturbed, affected. And at the same time, if the person cannot find time to study and do higher things, the person will get disturbed. So tattva is defectless, but still it binds one to happiness and knowledge. If one is not able to feel calm and there's loud music and all that, a sattvic person will get disturbed. Okay? So, shlokas, if a sattvic person cannot have quietude and seclusion, they become highly disturbed. Quietude becomes a cause of bondage. So for some people, the need to get more college degrees, study more, collect more information, that becomes a source of bondage. So sattvic person suffers from, Swamiji will say, intellectual samsara. They want to keep getting more degrees. They want to find quietude and seclusion, calm place so that they can think. So that's the cause of bondage for a sattvic person. It's better than the other three, but it's still a bondage. That's why Krishna later will say, rise above the three gunas. Gunatitaha. So shlokas 6 to 9 talk about the three gunas of ahankara, guna lakshana, characteristics of the three gunas, and bandhana prakaraha, mode of how bondage or how each guna binds. So we've already seen. So sixth, we start with the binding. We saw how sattva binds. Now we'll see the characteristics of sattva. We'll also see how rajas and tamas binds. So sattva is defectless, luminous, without afflictions. Sattvic mind is introverted, mode of bondage caused by samsara. It binds one by attachment to tranquility and attachment to knowledge. So far, is it clear?
Yes, Ganesh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rajo ragatmakam vitti Krishna sanga samudbhavam tannibadnati kaunteya karma sangena dehinam. Rajoguna ragatmakam viddhi. Know that viddhi means know. Know that rajas is to be the nature of raga. Raga means passion, nature of passion. Ragatmakam means nature of atmakam here means the nature, the true inner content. Ragatmakam, to the nature of passion. Trishna sanga samudbhavam. Trishna means craving. Trishna sanga, craving. And sanga means attachment. It is the cause of craving and attachment. Krishna Sanga Samudbhavam means it is the cause. So it is craving and attachment rises. Samudbhavam means they rise. They rise from Rajoguna. Tannibadnati kaunteya karma sangena dehinam. It binds the dehinam, it binds the embodied one by causing attachment to activity. So you have to understand this statement a little carefully. Binds the embodied one means it doesn't, you cannot bind the Atman. Atman is everywhere. You can't put a wall around it because it's everywhere. So you can't bind, put a chain and shackle it. Here it binds means it catches that and transmits it as a reflection, or in this case, like a fan, because it's wound in some certain way, it's rotates. A light bulb, because it is made in a certain way, it gives light, right? What is common to that? Electricity blesses each of them same, but one rotates, one shines light. Think of the bulb like sattva, bright, luminous. Think of the fan, it goes round and round. So it's like rajas. It binds the embodied one by causing attachment to our activity. So it takes the electricity and it one kind of energy and it transmits it as kinetic energy. Okay? Another, it takes electricity, transmits as light energy, light and heat. So that's how it binds. It binds the embodied one. So bind doesn't mean put a shackle, but it seems to take it and like as though it's like reflecting or converting it into another source of energy. Is this point clear? The subtle point. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So characteristic of rajas is of the nature of passion, craving, and attachment. Rajasic mind is highly extroverted. Mode of bondage caused by rajas is it binds one by attachment to action. Tamastvajnanajam vitti mohanam sarvadehinam pramadalasya nidrabhi dhannipadnati bharata. Tamas too, but know that tamas to be born of ignorance. Ajnanajam vidhi. No, vidhi means no. Ajnanajam means tam ja means to be born from ignorance. Tamas to be born out of ignorance. Mohanam sarvadehinam, deluding all embodied beings. Dehi refers to, here it refers to embodied beings, deluding all the embodied beings. So here it really refers to the subtle body, what embodied, what is embodied inside the body. There is the subtle body, Sukshma Shariram, and there is also the consciousness everywhere. Pramadalasya nidrabi, it binds by causing. Pramada means negligence. Alasya means laziness, indolence. And nidra, here nidra means excessive sleep. So nidra itself is okay, but atika nidra, excessive sleep. Pramadalasya nidrapi kannibadnati bharata, it binds it, and nibadnati means binds, O Bharata, O refers to Arjuna. So Ajnana refers to the inert Prakriti versus the consciousness. So the Prakriti has no jnana, it's inert. All the understanding takes place because of the light. So only in light there is understanding. Just the moon by itself is dark, nothing. When light shines on it, then a lot of things are revealed. So characteristics of tamas. Tamas suppresses sattva and rajas. Tamasic mind is dull and deluded. So it's born out of ignorance. And suppressing sattva and rajas is because it is dull and it is ignorance, it deludes. So it also, we'll see soon, clearly Bhagavan will say, tamas manifests by suppressing sattva and rajas. Tamasic mind is dull and deluded. It binds one by laziness, carelessness, and excessive sleep. This is the mode of bondage caused by tamas. Continuing. Sattvam sukhe sanjayati raja karmani bharata jnanam avritya tu tamaha pramade sanjayatyuta. Okay. Sattva binds one to happiness. Sattvam sukhe sanjayati. Sanjayati means it kind of unites. Sanjayati, it unites. Raja karmani bharata. Rajas binds one to action. Whereas ajnanam avritya tu tamaha. Tamas binds one. Ajnanam avritya, by veiling the knowledge. Jnanam avritya tu tamaha. By avritya means to cover. So by covering or veiling the discriminative power of knowledge, pramade sanjayat uta. There uta here means to uta means indeed, but or whereas tamas binds one to carelessness. So Krishna is doing a summary of the last three shlokas. He is summarizing 6, 7, and 8 in this shloka. Okay. Then continuing, rajas tamas cha vibhuya Sattvam bhavati bharata rajas sattvam tamaschaiva tamas sattvam rajas tatha. Sattva manifests by overpowering rajas and tamas, and rajas manifests by overpowering sattva and tamas, and tamas manifests by overpowering sattva and rajas. Abhibhuyaha means by overpowering. So this 10th verse is a diversion verse before starting on the topic of the lingam, the characteristics of the three gunas. Because now then comes a very important question. If a person is sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic, is it a fixed character, or is it possible for us to change the character of a person? So here, Bhagavan clearly says you have to understand where you stand. Arjuna, Bhagavan says, you have to understand where you stand and you have to adopt the appropriate sadhana and finally come to self-knowledge. So if you are tamo guna dominant, you have to go to the next step, rajoguna, and then to sattva guna. And then finally, you can transcend all the three gunas. So that's what Bhagavan is saying here. Now we go to the next portion. It is lingam, means indicators to find out which lingam is basically a mark or indicator to find out which guna is dominant in someone. Okay, so all these three shlokas are combined because they are continuation, so they're sung together. सर्पद्वारेषु देहेऽस्मिन् प्रकाश उपजायते ज्ञानं यदा तदा विद्यात् विवृद्धं सत्त्वमित्युत लोभः प्रकृति आरम्भः कर्मणामशमः स्पृहा रजस्येतानि जायन्ते विवृत्ते परतर्षभ अप्रकाशो प्रवृत्तिश्च प्रमादो मोह एव च तमस्येतानि जायन्ते विवृत्ते कुरु नन्दन. So we have three shlokas. They talk about the lingam. How do you know what is prominent in you? Which guna is prominent? So the first one, sarvadvareshu dehesmin. Dvara here means all the gateways. So what are the gateways to the body? Sense organs. So sarvadvareshu asmin dehe, in this body, prakasha upajayate, when the light of knowledge is born in all the sense organs in the body, then you may know that sattva is predominant. Jnanam yada, when, tada, then, vidyat, know that vivriddham sattvam ityuta. So prakasha upajayate jnanam should be read as jnanam prakasha upajayate. The light of knowledge is upajayate, means is born. Sarvadvareshu, in all gateways, in all sense organs. Vivriddham means predominant. So vivriddham sattvam ityuta. So when sattva is predominant, then the light of knowledge is born in all the sense organs in the body. Okay, ityuta means thus indeed. So when the light of knowledge is born in all sense organs, then indeed sattva is predominant. So vivriddham sattvam ityuta should be read as sattvam vivriddham ityuta. Sattvam is predominant indeed. That's how it has to be read. Okay. Okay. Lobha pravrittirarambha कर्मणामशमस्पृहा रजस्येतानि जायन्ते विवृते भरतर्षभ. Lobha is greed. Pravritti means activity. So, in fact, in the 16th chapter, which is called Daivasura Vibhaga Yoga, Daiva Asura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga, that is demonic traits. Daiva Sampat means it is divine trait. Asura Sampat means it is demonic trait. Vibhaga, the differences between the demonic and the divine traits. So there is a shloka which goes Pravrittim cha na nivrittim cha jnana vidur asura न शौचं नापि चाचारः न satyam teshu vidyate. So pravritti means what to be done, activity that has to be done. Nivritti means that which has to be restrained. So here pravritti refers to activity, just plunging headlong into activity. Karmanam arambha, undertaking of new activities. So new is not mentioned, but undertaking of new activities is what it means. Arambha karmanam. It should be read as karmanam arambha. Ashamaha, restlessness. Spruha, longing. Sparsha means touch, means clinging. So spruha, it refers to longing. Okay? We should be very, Swamiji here says we should be very careful. We are not criticizing Rajasic people, because if a nation has to progress, we need a lot of activity also. So Rajas is important. All three gunas are important. Without tamas, you can't sleep. So, but it has to be balanced. Okay? Everyone needs all three gunas, but it has to be in the right proportions. Etani rajo vivruddhe jayante. All these are born when Rajas is increased. So greed, activity, undertaking of new activities, restlessness, longing, all these are born when vivruddhe, when just vivruddham means this increase in Rajas. Okay, so when Rajas is increased, if it's in the right amount, no problem. But if it's increased, that's why you see careful. We have to read the words carefully. You are not criticizing Rajas. You need some Rajas to be a warrior needs Rajas, Rajoguna is needed. But when it goes out of control, all these happen. Greed, activity, all that happen. Excess activity. Continuing. Aprakasho pravrittescha pramadho moha eva cha tamas etani jayante vivritte kuru nandana. Aprakasha means lack of shining, lack of lackluster, we can say, or dullness. Apravrittihi, inaction, pravritti. So it's basically it's nivritti. It's not using the word nivritti because there is restraint. That's a good thing. Here is apravritti is using lack of action, inaction. Pramadaha, negligence, and moha, delusion. With all these, tamas etani jayante. These rise when vivruddhe tamaha etani jayante. When tamas becomes predominant, these things arise. Any questions here? So aprakashaha, apravrittaha, inaction. Etani tamapravriddhe jayante. All these are born when tamas is predominant. So we saw what are the traits, what happens when one guna becomes excessive. So we've covered guna lakshanam, characteristics of the three gunas, bandhana prakaraha, how each guna binds one to prakriti, lingam, indicators to find which guna is dominant in someone. Then we will come to gatihi. Gati means death travel. Palam means in this life. Gati means after this life. What happens? Post-death travel. Gati means destination, fate, whatever you call it. So Gatihi. So 14 and 15 are read together. Yada sattve pravritte tu pralayam yati dehabhrit tadota abhidan lokan amalan pratipadyate rajasi pralayam gatva sarv karma sangishu jayate tata pralinasamasi Bhudayonishu jayate. These are continuation. It's a one statement, so it is read together. Okay. Yada sattve pravriddetu. When an embodied being dies, when sattva is predominant. Yada, when sattve pravridde means when sattva is predominant. Pralayam yati deha brita. Pralayam here refers to the pralayam yati means attains death. Pralayam means basically dissolution or death. Pralayam yati means one obtains death. Yada, when, tada, then, what that person attains, what does that person attains? Uttama vidhan lokan. So the world where the knowers of the Supreme, the Brahman, where very wise people they go to. So, and what kind of lokam it is? Amalan lokam, blemishless world, pure worlds of the knowers of the Supreme. The people who know the Brahman, they go to those worlds. So when an embodied being dies, when sattva is predominant, then they attain the blemishless pure worlds of the knowers of the Supreme. And here we are talking about what kind of jivatma, ajnani or jnani. We should be very careful. What will be the direction of a jnani's travel? Jnani does not travel at all. All the three sharirams are dissolved and he is one with the Brahman. So it refers to the ajnani, one who's wise but not all the way there. So there's still some room for understanding. Amalan lokan pratipadyate. That sattva-guna pradhana ajnani will go to the pure lokas, higher lokas. Purer and higher means punya pradhana loka, like bhuvar loka, will see all the lokas. Bhuvar loka, suvar loka, mahar loka, jana loka, and in those higher lokas. So where great people go to. So it is said that acquiring Manusha Loka, Janma, is very rare because only in Manusha Loka, new karma can be earned. In all other lokas, karma can only be exhausted and not be earned. So, what are the 14 lokas? Satya Loka, that is Brahma Loka, highest. Remember in the 8th chapter, Krama Mukti. Someone goes in stages, they don't get liberation immediately. When they worship a god with a form, then the Saguna Brahman, Nishkama Saguna Upasana or Nishkama Saguna Bhakti, when without selfish desires, when they worship God with attributes, they go to Brahmaloka and from there they get Mukti. So Satya Loka, Brahmaloka, Satya, Papa, Jana, Maha, Swarloka, Bhuvarloka. Then comes earth, Bhuloka. And then below earth is Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Vasatala, and Patala. These are all the lower worlds. So there are 7 lower worlds and 6 worlds higher than earth. Okay. Any questions here? All good. So it talks about Gatihi when somebody dies. When Sattva is dominant, they go to one of these higher lokas. So that is Satya Loka, Tapa Loka, Jana Loka, Mahar Loka, Loka, Bhur Loka. Rajase pralayam gatva karma sangishu jayate tatha pralinastamasi mudayonishu jayate. Meeting with death in rajas dominance, they are born amongst those attached to action. And like that, when one dies in tamas dominance, they are born in the wombs of deluded beings. So, rajasi pralayam gatva. Rajasi means in rajas. Tamasi means in tamas. Rajas results in birth in bhuloka, earth. It is the same level because earth is where all the activities happen. So, karma sangishu manushya lokeshu jayate. That is, people, manushya loka, like the ants, we are constantly doing this things. Karma sangishu, they're attached to actions. And that is why Swamiji says in the Gita class, you don't find animals coming. They only have bhoga. They do not have a free will to acquire karma. Therefore, mudayonishu jayate, and tamas is predominant. They are born in the wombs of lower organisms. That is, all these lower worlds are just as animals in the bhuloka. Mudayonishu jayate. Muda here means deluded, means it doesn't mean a bad thing necessarily. Animals, they don't have free will. So they're born in lower wombs. So gatihi means post their fate, post death. Where do they end up? Phalam means what benefits they get while living. So that's gatihi. This is phalam. Okay. So consequences for predominance of each guna in this lifetime. Consequences in this lifetime. Karmana sukritasyahuhu satvikam nirmalam palam rajasastu palam dukkam ajnanam tamasa palam. It is said that the fruit of sattvic actions is punyam, merit, and nirmalam, freedom from distress in this world. Sorrow is the result of rajas, and perpetuation of ignorance is the result of tamas. Ajnanam tamasa phalam. There's already ajnanam in tamas. Okay, so you have to add the word perpetuation of ignorance, because by tamas it already means one is ignorant. But when it's perpetuated, it creates more ignorance. Okay. So gatihi is the consequence after death. Phalam is the consequence in this lifetime itself. A small rearrangement has to be made. So instead of reading sukritasya karmana phalam satvikam ahu, sukritasya karmana sukritasya ahu satvikam phalam, one has to read satvikasya karmana phalam sukritam. So sukritasya karmana phalam satvikam. That's how this is written. Sukritas ahuhu satvikam. So you have to read it as satvikasya karmana phalam sukritam. That is the result of satvika actions is good merit. Sukritam means good merit, or it means punyam. So here it means sukritasya ahuhu satvikam. It's not mean the benefit of merit is satvikam. That may also be true, but what here, it all depends on the in Sanskrit. To maintain the meter, they juxtapose words. So you have to read it as Satvikasya karmana phalam sukritam. The benefit of a satvika karma is, the fruit is good merit. And then, so when sattvic person deal with life interactions, you can see harmony and peace, where the house will be a home. When transactions are taking place among rajasic people, you will find stress and strain. So sorrow is a result of rajas. Okay, perpetuation of ignorance is the result of tamas. Exactly like the animals. Animals cannot learn anything out of the life. So we are rich in ignorance. So we don't have to earn more ignorance, Swamiji says. Okay. Sattvat sanchayate jnanam rajaso lobha eva cha pramada moho tamasaha bhavato jnanam eva cha. From sattva, knowledge is born. From rajas, greed is born. Negligence, delusion, and ignorance are born out of tamas. So, Bhagavan is again summarizing all this. Triguna phalam, the three fruits of the, um, the gunas. So, now we've seen the phalam, then Bhagavan again. So, Bhagavan creates a mischief. Again goes to Gatihi, post-death travel. After he talks about Gatihi, then comes to phalam, again goes to Gatihi. He says, Urtvam, very beautiful shloka. Urtvam gachanti sattvastaha madhye tishtanti rajasaha jaganya guna vrittistaha adho gachanti tamasaha. Those who are abiding in sattva go upward. The rajasic people remain in the same world, in the middle, abiding in the functions of the lower gunas. The tamasic people go down even further. They go into other worlds. Okay? So here it says, Jaganya means lowest forms. Jaganya guna vrittistaha means those who are abiding in the functions of the lowest gunas, that is tamas. Vritti here means function instead of modification, the meaning that's used. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. So here, vritti here means function instead of using the word modification. Different lokas are different planes of experience. It has nothing to do with our time and space. Okay? So we have covered until this second portion, 5 through 18. The next portion is Gunatitam. How do you transcend the three gunas? It's a very important portion. We will cover that in the next class. I will stop the recording here.